You are not merely flesh and blood, bound by the limitations of the physical world. You are, in essence, pure consciousness, an extension of the infinite mind of God. And it is this realization, this awakening to your true nature, that holds the key to unlocking a life beyond your wildest dreams. But how, you may ask, does one come to this profound understanding? How does one tap into this wellspring of infinite possibility? The answer, I assure you, is simpler than you might imagine, yet it requires a fundamental shift in your perception of reality. The world you see around you, with all its seeming solidity and permanence, is nothing more than a projection of your own consciousness. It is a reflection of your inner state, your beliefs, and your assumptions about what is possible. And herein lies the great secret. To change your outer world, you must first change your inner world. This, my friends, is the essence of what I call the law of assumption. It is the divine principle that governs all of creation, and it is the key to manifesting your desires and living a life of true purpose and fulfillment. To understand this law, you must first grasp a fundamental truth. Imagination is the very substance of reality. The world you experience is not something separate from you, but a manifestation of your own imaginal acts. Every thought, every feeling, every assumption you hold about yourself and the world around you is constantly being externalized in your physical reality. Now I can sense the skepticism rising in some of you. You may be thinking, but Neville, I have tried positive thinking before. I have visualized my desires, yet they remain unfulfilled. To this I say, mere positive thinking or casual visualization is not enough. What I am speaking of is a much deeper, more profound practice, the art of living from the end. Living from the end means assuming the feeling of your wish fulfilled. It means entering into the state of consciousness where your desire is already a present fact rather than a future possibility. This is not mere daydreaming or fantasy. It is a deliberate, controlled use of your imagination to impress upon your subconscious mind the reality you wish to experience. Let me illustrate this with an example. Suppose you desire financial abundance. The conventional approach would be to work harder, to struggle and strive in the hopes of one day achieving your goal. But this approach is fundamentally flawed, for it keeps you in a state of lack and wanting. It reinforces the very condition you seek to overcome. Instead, I urge you to assume the feeling of wealth and abundance now. Close your eyes and imagine with all the vividness you can muster what it would feel like to have all the money you desire. Feel the sense of security, the freedom, the joy that comes with financial abundance. Make this imaginal act so real that when you open your eyes, the world around you seems pale in comparison. But here's the crucial point. You must persist in this assumption. You must live and move and have your being in this new state of consciousness. For remember, your outer world is nothing more than a reflection of your inner state. As you maintain this new self-concept, as you live consistently in the consciousness of wealth and abundance, the outer circumstances of your life will invariably reshape themselves to match your inner conviction. This, my dear friends, is the creative power you possess. It is the power to shape your reality through the controlled use of your imagination. And it is this power that you squander when you waste your life living in accordance with the limited beliefs and assumptions imposed upon you by society. But the law of assumption extends far beyond mere material gain. It applies to every aspect of your life, your relationships, your health, your spiritual growth. Whatever you desire to be, do, or have, you must first assume the feeling of already being, doing, or having it. This is the secret to living a life of true purpose and fulfillment. Now, some of you may be wondering, but what about effort? What about action? And to this I say, inspired action will naturally flow from your assumed state of consciousness. When you truly live in the end, when you fully embody the state of your wish fulfilled, you will find yourself naturally guided to take the steps necessary to bring your desire into physical manifestation. However, this action will not feel like struggle or strain. It will not be the frantic, anxious activity of someone desperately trying to achieve a goal. Instead, it will be the calm, confident action of one who knows that their desire is already a fact, waiting to be expressed in the physical world. This, my friends, is the difference between wasting your life and living with purpose. It is the difference between being at the mercy of external circumstances and being the conscious creator of your reality. It is the difference between existing and truly living. But I must warn you, this path is not for the faint of heart. It requires courage, persistence, and above all, faith. Faith not in some external deity or power, but faith in the God within you, the I am that is your true self. For you see, the great I am is not something separate from you. It is your very essence, your true identity. When you say I am, you are invoking the name of God, for I am is the true name of the Creator. And whatever you attach to this mighty I am, you are decreeing it into existence. This is why it is so crucial to be mindful of your inner conversations, of the thoughts and assumptions you hold about yourself and the world. For every time you say, I am poor, I am sick, I am unlucky, you are using green creative power to perpetuate these conditions in your life. Instead, I urge you to make a new covenant with yourself. Begin to use the power of I am consciously and deliberately. Declare, I am wealthy, I am healthy, I am loved, not as affirmations or positive statements, but as acknowledgments of your true state of being. For remember, your conception of yourself is what you really are, and your conception of yourself is all that you have to give to the world. Now, I can hear some of you thinking, but Neville, this seems too easy. Surely there must be more to it than this. And to this I say the greatest truths are often the simplest. The power to change your life, to achieve your every desire, to live a life of true purpose and fulfillment, it is your divine birthright as a child of God, as an individualized expression of the infinite creative consciousness. The reason why this truth seems too good to be true is that you have been conditioned to believe in limitation, in struggle, in the necessity of hard work and sacrifice. But I assure you these beliefs are nothing more than illusions, shadows cast by the limited thinking of man. In reality, there are no limitations to what you can be, do, or have, except those you accept in your own thinking. The entire universe is within you, waiting to be expressed. All the wealth, all the love, all the wisdom, all the success you could ever desire is already yours in potential. Your task is simply to align your consciousness with this truth, to assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, and to live from that state until it becomes your physical reality. But let me be clear, this is not a call to irresponsibility or inaction. On the contrary, it is an invitation to take full responsibility for your life, to become the conscious creator of your reality rather than a passive victim of circumstance. It is a call to action of the highest order, the action of consciously directing your imagination and assuming the feeling of your desires fulfilled. Now, some of you may be wondering about the role of others in this process. You may be thinking, but what about my family, my friends, my colleagues? Don't they have a say in my reality? And to this I say, everyone in your world is you pushed out. They are reflections of your own consciousness, playing the parts that you have assigned to them through your beliefs and assumptions. This doesn't mean that others don't exist, or that their free will is negated. Rather, it means that your experience of others, how they treat you, how they respond to you, is a direct reflection of your own self-concept and your assumptions about them. Change your concept of yourself and others, and you will see a corresponding change in your relationships and interactions. This understanding liberates you from the need to change others or to wait for external circumstances to improve. It places the power squarely in your hands, for you realize that to change your world, you need only change yourself. But I must caution you, this power comes with great responsibility. For as you awaken to your true nature as the operant power in your world, you can no longer blame others or external circumstances for your life conditions. You must be willing to take full responsibility for your thoughts, your assumptions, and consequently, your life experiences. This, my dear friends, is what it means to truly live. To not waste the precious gift of life that has been bestowed upon you. It means to awaken from the slumber of limitation and victimhood, and to claim your rightful place as a conscious creator, as an individualized expression of the divine. But how, you may ask, does one begin this journey of awakening? How does one start to apply these principles in daily life? The answer lies in a practice I call revision. Revision is the art of consciously reimagining past events in a way that aligns with your desires. It is based on the understanding that time is merely constructive consciousness, and that the past, present, and future exist simultaneously in the eternal now. When you engage in revision, you are not denying or suppressing what seems to have happened. Rather, you are exercising your divine right as a creator to choose which version of events you wish to make real in your consciousness. For remember, it is not the outer event itself that shapes your life, but your reaction to it, your interpretation of it. Let me give you an example. Suppose you had an unpleasant interaction with a colleague at work. The conventional approach would be to replay the event in your mind, reinforcing the negative emotions and potentially carrying that energy into future interactions. But with revision, you would close your eyes and reimagine the scene as you wish it had unfolded. See your colleague responding with kindness and understanding. Feel the warmth of a positive interaction. Make this new version so vivid and real in your imagination that it supersedes the original memory. As you practice revision consistently, you will begin to see a remarkable transformation in your life. Not only will your present and future experiences begin to align with your revised versions of past, but you will also develop a deep sense of peace and empowerment, knowing that you are no longer at the mercy of past events or external circumstances. But revision is not limited to recent events. You can revise any aspect of your life story, any belief or assumption that no longer serves you. Were you told as a child that you were not smart enough, not talented enough, not worthy of love or success? Revise these limiting beliefs. Go back in your imagination and hear words of encouragement and support. Feel the confidence and self-assurance that comes from knowing your infinite worth and potential. This practice of revision is not about denying reality or living in fantasy. It is about understanding the true nature of reality as a projection of consciousness and exercising your divine right to choose which version of events you wish to make real in your world. Now, I can sense that some of you may be feeling overwhelmed by the magnitude of this teaching. You may be thinking, this all sounds wonderful, Neville, but where do I begin? How do I put this into practice in my daily life? To this, I say, begin with the end in mind. Choose a desire, something you wish to be, do, or have. It could be anything, a new job, a loving relationship, improved health, financial abundance. Whatever it is, define it clearly in your mind. Now close your eyes and enter into a state of relaxation. Let go of all tension in your body and mind. As you relax, begin to imagine a scene that would imply the fulfillment of your desire. Make it as vivid and real as possible. Engage all your senses. What would you see, hear, feel, smell, taste if your desire were already fulfilled? Most importantly, Feel the emotion of your wish fulfilled. Feel the joy, the gratitude, the sense of accomplishment. For it is this feeling that is the secret to your creative power. Your emotional state is the channel through which your imaginal acts are impressed upon the subconscious mind and brought into physical manifestation. As you emerge from this imaginal act, carry the feeling with you. Let it permeate your entire being. Live from the assumption that what you have imagined is already a fact. This is what it means to live in the end. Now here's the crucial part. You must persist in this assumption. You must make your imaginal act more real to you than the evidence of your physical senses. This is where most people falter. They allow the apparent reality of the outer world to overshadow their imaginal act. They give up at the first sign that things are not changing as quickly as they'd like. But I assure you, if you persist in your assumption, if you remain faithful to your imaginal act, your outer world must conform to your inner conviction. It is law. For remember, your outer world is nothing more than a reflection of your inner state of consciousness. This persistence, this unwavering faith in the reality of your imaginal act is what separates those who transform their lives from those who continue to live in frustration and limitation. It is the key to not wasting your life, to living with purpose and power. But let me be clear, this is not about forcing or willing things to happen. It is not about struggle or strain. It is about aligning yourself with the natural creative process of the universe. It is about allowing your desires to unfold naturally and effortlessly as you maintain the consciousness of their fulfillment. Now, some of you may be wondering about the role of action in this process. You may be thinking, but Neville, surely we must do something to bring our desires into manifestation. And to this I say inspired action will naturally flow from your assumed state. When you truly live in the end, when you fully embody the state of your wish fulfilled, you will find yourself naturally guided to take the steps necessary to bring your desire into physical manifestation. But this action will not feel like effort or struggle. It will be the calm, confident action of one who knows that their desire is already a fact. This is the difference between wasting your life in fruitless struggle and living with purpose and power. It is the difference between trying to make things happen through sheer force of will and allowing your good to flow to you naturally as you align yourself with the creative power of the universe. But I must warn you, as you begin to apply these principles, you may face challenges. You may encounter doubt, both from within yourself and from others. You may face seeming setbacks or delays. This is where your faith will be tested. Remember, the outer world may not immediately reflect your new inner state. There may be a time lag between your imaginal act and its physical manifestation. This period, which I call the Sabbath, is a time of rest and assurance. It is a time to remain faithful to your assumption, regardless of appearances. During this time, you may be tempted to doubt, to question whether your imaginal act was real or effective. You may be tempted to return to your old patterns of thinking and behaving. But I urge you, do not waver. Hold fast to your assumption, for it is your faith, your persistent assumption, that will ultimately reshape your reality. This, my dear friends, is a true test of your creative power. It is easy to believe when things are going well, when your outer world aligns with your desires. But it takes real faith, real understanding of your divine nature, to persist in your assumption when everything seems to contradict. But I assure you, if you persist, if you remain faithful to your imaginal act, you will see miracles unfold in your life. You will witness the power of your consciousness to reshape your reality in ways that may seem impossible from your current standpoint. Now let us address another crucial aspect of not wasting your life, the importance of living in the present moment. Many people waste their lives by constantly dwelling on the past or anxiously anticipating the future. They fail to realize that the present moment is the only point of power, the only place where life can be truly lived and experienced. When you understand the law of assumption, you realize that the past has no power over you except the power you give it through your present assumptions. The future is not something to be feared or anxiously awaited, but something you are creating now through your current state of consciousness. Living in the present moment doesn't mean ignoring the past or failing to plan for the future. Rather, it means being fully aware and conscious in the here and now, recognizing that this moment is where all your creative power lies. It means using your imagination constructively to create the future you desire, rather than letting your mind wander aimlessly or dwell on negative past experiences. This present moment awareness is crucial for effective manifestation, for it is only in the present moment that you can assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled. It is only in the now that you can impress upon your subconscious mind the reality you wish to experience. Moreover, living in the present moment allows you to fully appreciate and enjoy the life you are creating. Many people waste their lives by constantly chasing after future goals, never pausing to appreciate the journey or the present moment. They fail to realize that life is not a destination to be reached, but a journey to be lived and enjoyed. By living fully in the present, you can experience the joy and fulfillment that comes from being alive while still working towards your desires. Another crucial aspect of not wasting your life is understanding the importance of your self-concept. Your self-concept, or the beliefs and assumptions you hold about yourself, is the foundation upon which your entire life experience is built. Many people waste their lives by accepting limiting beliefs about themselves, never realizing their true potential. They go through life believing they are not good enough, not smart enough, worthy of love, or worthy of us. But I tell you, these beliefs are nothing more than illusions, shadows cast by the limited thinking of man. To truly live, to make the most of the divine gift of life, you must cultivate a self-concept that aligns with your desires and your true divine nature. This means consciously choosing to see yourself as the person you wish to be, regardless of current circumstances or past experiences. It means affirming your divine nature, your infinite potential, your worthiness of all good things. As you consistently maintain this elevated self-concept, you will find your outer world reshaping itself to match your inner conviction. In conclusion, my dear friends, the key to not wasting your life lies in awakening to your true nature as a divine creative being. It lies in understanding and applying the law of assumption, in living from the end, in reviving your past, in being fully present in the now, and in cultivating a self-concept that aligns with your highest aspirations. It means taking full responsibility for your life experience, recognizing that you are the author of your own story, the creator of your own reality. As you embark on this journey of awakening and conscious creation, remember that you are never alone. The infinite creative power of the universe is always with you, for it is your very essence. Trust in this power, have faith in your divine nature, and persist in your assumptions. For as you do so, you will witness the miraculous unfolding of a life beyond your wildest dreams, a life of purpose, fulfillment, and true joy. This, my friends, is what it means to truly live, to make the most of the precious gift of life. Go forth now and create the life you desire, for all things are possible to him who believes. It is the secret of making the universe respond to your desires, of shaping reality itself through the power of your imagination. Now I know what some of you may be thinking. Neville, you might say, how can this be possible? How can my mere thoughts and imaginings affect the solid, tangible world around me? And to that I say, not only is it possible, it is the very foundation of all creation, the bedrock upon which our entire existence is built. You see, my dear friends, the world you perceive around you, the chair you're sitting on, the air you're breathing, the thoughts of the person next to you, All of it is nothing more than a reflection of your own consciousness. The universe in all its infinite wisdom and glory is responding moment by moment to the state of your imagination, to the assumptions you hold about yourself and the world. Let me be clear, when I speak of imagination, I'm not referring to idle daydreams or fleeting fantasies. No, I am speaking of something far more profound, far more fundamental to your being. Your imagination, properly understood and applied, is your very self. It is God in action within you. It is in essence the creative power of the universe focused through the lens of your individual consciousness. Now I can see the skepticism in some of your eyes. You're wondering if this is true. Why isn't my life perfect? Why do I face challenges and setbacks? And to that I say, because you are yet fully awakened to your true nature, to the immense power that lies dormant within you. You see, most people go through life believing they are at the mercy of external circumstances. They believe that their lives are shaped by forces beyond their control, by their upbringing, their environment, their genes, or even by some capricious deity who doles out blessings and curses at will. But I am here to tell you with absolute certainty that nothing could be further from the truth. You, my dear friends, are the operant power in your life. You are the one who shapes your reality, who determines your fate. And you do this not through your actions in the outer world, but through the states you occupy in your imagination. Now let me explain what I mean by states. A state is a mindset, a way of being, a particular arrangement of your consciousness. When you embody a state, be it one of wealth, health, love, or success, you are in that moment, that very thing. And here's the crucial point. The outer world has no choice but to conform to the state you have assumed. This, my friends, is the law that governs all creation. It is immutable, unchanging, and it operates with perfect precision in every moment of your existence. The world is nothing more than a mirror, faithfully reflecting back to you the state you have assumed. But here's where most people stumble. They look at their current circumstances, at the limitations and lack in their lives, and they assume that this is their reality. They accept it as an unchangeable fact, not realizing that by doing so, they are perpetuating those very conditions. You see, the secret to changing your life, to making the universe respond, lies in your ability to disregard the evidence of your senses and instead live from the end. What do I mean by this? I mean that you must have the courage and the imagination to see your desires already fulfilled, to experience in your mind the joy and satisfaction of your wish realized. This, my friends, is the art of assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. It is the cornerstone of all successful manifestation, the key that unlocks the infinite potential of your imagination. Now, I can hear some of you thinking, but Neville, how can I possibly feel something that isn't true? How can I convince myself of a reality that doesn't exist? And to that I say, you are already doing it every moment of your life. Every belief you hold, every assumption you make about yourself and the world is nothing more than an act of imagination that you have accepted as truth. The only difference is that most people imagine unconsciously, allowing their minds to be shaped by past experiences and current circumstances. But you, my dear friends, have the power to imagine consciously, to deliberately choose the states you will occupy. Let me give you an example to illustrate this point. Imagine a man who desires wealth. He looks at his current bank balance, at the bills piling up on his desk, and he feels poor. He walks down the street, sees luxury cars and expensive shops, and he feels lack. In every moment he is affirming his poverty, he is assuming the state of being poor. Now contrast this with a man who understands the power of imagination. This man, regardless of his current circumstances, chooses to assume the state of wealth. When he walks down that same street, he doesn't see things he can't afford. He sees evidence of abundance that is already his. When he looks at his bills, he feels gratitude for the services he's received and the ability to pay for them. In his imagination, he feels the crisp texture of large bills in his wallet. He experiences the peace of mind that comes with financial security. He savors the freedom to live as he chooses, to help others, to pursue his passions without concern for money. Which of these men do you think is more likely to manifest actual wealth in the outer world? The answer, of course, is clear. The universe can only respond to the state you occupy, to the assumptions you hold about yourself and your place in the world. Now, I will address a common misconception. Some of you might be thinking, but Neville, isn't this just positive thinking? Isn't this just fooling myself? And to that I say, absolutely not. What I'm describing goes far beyond mere positive thinking or affirmations. You see, positive thinking operates on the level of the conscious mind. It's an attempt to override negative thoughts with more positive ones. But the power I'm speaking of, the power to make the universe respond, operates at a much deeper level. It's not about thinking positively, it's about being positively. When you truly assume a state in your imagination, when you occupy it fully, you are not fooling yourself. You are in that moment actually becoming the person who has what you desire. You are shifting your entire consciousness, aligning yourself with the reality you wish to experience. This is why simply repeating affirmations or visualizing your desires often falls short. These techniques can be useful, but they're not enough on their own. To truly change your life, to make the universe respond, you must feel the reality of your desire. You must experience it so vividly in your imagination. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but Neville, you might say, I've tried this. I've imagined what I want. I've tried to feel it real, but nothing has changed. And to that I say persistence is key. Remember, you are undoing a lifetime of habitual thinking and feeling. You are dismantling deeply ingrained beliefs about yourself and the world. This is not always an easy process. It requires dedication, it requires faith, and above all, it requires persistence. You must be willing to maintain your assumed state, even when all evidence points to the contrary. You must have courage to disregard the world of shadows and live fully in the world of imagination. Let me share with you a story that illustrates this point. I once knew a woman who desperately wanted to be married. She had been single for years, and despite her best efforts, she couldn't seem to find the right partner. She came to me frustrated and disheartened, asking for help. I instructed her to imagine every night before sleep that she was already married to the perfect partner. I told her to feel the ring on her finger, to experience the warmth of her lover's embrace, to hear the words of love and commitment whispered in her ear. At first, she found this difficult. Her loneliness and frustration kept intruding on her imaginal scene, but she persisted. Night after night, she lived in her imagination as a happily married woman. And slowly, something began to change. She noticed that she felt different during the day. She carried herself with more confidence. She interacted with men differently, free from the desperation that had previously colored her interactions. And then, seemingly out of nowhere, she met someone. The relationship blossomed quickly, and within a year she was married to a man who matched perfectly the one she had been imagining. Now, some might call this a coincidence, but I assure you it was anything but. This woman had changed her state, had shifted her consciousness, and the universe had no choice but to respond in kind. This, my dear friends, is the power that lies within each and every one of you. The power to shape your reality, to mold the universe itself through the power of your imagination. But let me be clear, this is not about controlling others or manipulating external circumstances. The only thing you can ever change is yourself. But when you change yourself, when you shift your state, when you assume a new way of being, the entire world reshapes itself to match your new self-concept. Now, I want to address another important point. Some of you might be wondering, but Neville, about action. Don't we need to do something in the outer world to make our desires a reality? And to that I say, inspired action will flow naturally from your assumed state. You see, when you truly occupy a state of the wish fulfilled, when you live from the end, your actions in the outer world will naturally align with your desire. You won't have to force yourself to take action. You won't have to push against resistance. Instead, you'll find yourself naturally drawn to take the right actions at the right time. This is because your outer world is nothing more than an expression of your inner state. When you change your state, your perception changes and new opportunities become visible to you. Doors that were previously closed suddenly open. People and circumstances that can help you achieve your desire are drawn into your life, as if by magic. But remember, the action is not the cause of your manifestation, it is the result. The true cause is always the state you occupy in your imagination. This is why two people can take the same actions in the outer world and achieve vastly different results. It's not the action itself that determines the outcome, but the state from which the action springs. Now let's delve deeper into the mechanics of how this process works. Using your subconscious mind, which is really your connection to the infinite intelligence of the universe, doesn't distinguish between what you imagine vividly and what you experience in the outer world. To your subconscious, they are one and the same. This is why your imaginal acts are so powerful. When you imagine something vividly, when you occupy a state fully in your imagination, your subconscious accepts it as reality. And once your subconscious accepts something as real, it goes to work to make it so in your outer world. This is not some mystical or supernatural process, as it's simply the way consciousness never operates. Your consciousness is the only reality. What you assume to be true, what you believe in the depths of your being, must be expressed in your outer world. This is an inviolable law of consciousness. Now, I want to address a question that often arises when I speak about these principles. Some of you might be wondering, but Neville, what about other people? How can my imagination affect them? And to that I say, there are no others. I know this might sound strange, even solipsistic, but bear with me. You see, the people in your life, the circumstances you encounter, are all of you pushed out. They are reflections of your consciousness, expressions of your assumptions and beliefs. This doesn't mean that other people don't exist or that they don't have free will, but it does mean that your experience of them, your interactions with them, are shaped by your consciousness. Change your consciousness, and your experience of others will change too. Let me give you an example to illustrate this point. Imagine a man who believes that people are generally unfriendly, unhelpful. As he goes about his day, he encounters people who seem to confirm this belief. The cashier at the store is curt with him. His co-workers are distant strangers on the street, avoid eye contact. Now imagine this same man decides to change his assumption. He begins to imagine that people are friendly and eager to help. He feels this new assumption as true. He occupies this new state fully in his imagination. And suddenly his experiences begin to change. The same cashier smiles and strikes up a friendly conversation. His co-workers become more open and collaborative. Strangers on the street offer warm smiles. Has the world suddenly changed? Have all these people suddenly become different? Of course not. What has changed is the man's consciousness. And as a result, his perception and experience of the world has shifted. This, my dear friends, is the true power of your imagination. It's not just about manifesting material things or achieving specific goals. It's about shaping your entire experience of reality. It's about becoming the prototype to be, about living in the world you want to inhabit. Now I want to address another important aspect of this work. Some of you might be wondering about the role of desire in this process. You might be asking, Neville, where do our desires come from? And how do we know which desires to pursue? To that I say, your desires are not random. They are not arbitrary whims, fancies. Your desires are messages from your higher self, from the God within you. They are invitations to grow, to expand, to more fully express your divine nature. When you feel a genuine desire, not a selfish want, but a deep, heartfelt longing, that is God's way of telling you what's possible for you. It's a preview of a potential reality that you have the power to manifest. This is why it is so important to honor your desires, to take them seriously. When you dismiss your desires as impossible or unworthy, you are turning your back on your own divinity. You are rejecting the gift that the universe is offering you. But here's the crucial point. The fulfillment of your desire is not the ultimate goal. The real purpose of your desire is to lead you to a new state of being, to a new level of consciousness. The outer manifestation is simply as you have successfully shifted your state. This is why it's so important to focus on the feeling of the wish fulfilled, rather than on the specific details of how it will come about. When you imagine your desire as fulfilled, when you occupy that state fully, you are aligning yourself with the essence of what you want. And often the universe will surprise you by bringing your desire to pass in ways far more wonderful than you could have planned. Now, I want to address a common concern that arises when people begin to work with these principles. Some of you might be thinking, but Neville, what if I imagine something and it doesn't happen? What if I assume a state and nothing changes? To that I say, have patience, and above all, have faith. Remember, you are working with the very substance of the universe. You are engaging with the fundamental laws of creation. This is not always an instantaneous process. Sometimes the seed you plant in your imagination will sprout quickly, manifesting in your outer world in a matter of days or weeks. Other times it may take longer. But make no mistake, once you have planted that seed, once you have truly occupied a state in your imagination, the wheels of creation are set in motion. Your manifestation is inevitable, as long as you maintain your faith and persist in your assumption. This is where many people falter. They imagine their desire, they try to feel it real, but when they don't see immediate results, they give up. They return to their old state, their old assumptions, and then wonder why nothing has changed. But I assure you, my dear friends, that every imaginal act you perform is fruitful. Every state you occupy leaves its mark on your subconscious. Even if you don't see immediate results, trust that your imagination is doing its work. Trust that the universe is rearranging itself to match your new set. This trust, this unwavering faith is crucial. You must have faith in the law, faith in the power of your imagination. But more than that, you must have faith in yourself, in your divine nature, in your ability to create your reality. Now let's talk about how to practically apply these principles in your daily life. The first step is to choose your state. What is it that you truly desire? What kind of person do you want to be? What kind of life do you want to live? Once you've identified your desire, create a scene that implies its fulfillment. This scene should be short, simple, and easy to repeat. It should capture the essence of your desire, the feeling of it being realized. For example, if your desire is for a loving relationship, you might imagine hearing a loved one say, "I'm so happy we're together." Feel the warmth of their embrace, the love in their voice. Make it as vivid and real as possible. If your desire is for financial abundance, you might imagine looking at your bank statement and seeing a balance that thrills you. Feel the sense of security, the freedom that comes with financial abundance. Whatever you're seeing, the key is to make it feel real. Engage all your senses. Don't just see it, hear it, feel it, smell it. Taste it if appropriate. The more real you can make it in your imagination, the more powerful it will be. Now here's the crucial part. You must enter this scene as if it were happening now, not as a future event, not as something you hope will happen, but as a present reality. You must feel the naturalness of it, the sense that, of course, this is your reality. I recommend practicing this imaginal scene every night as you fall asleep. You see, sleep is a powerful time for impressing your subconscious mind. As you drift off to sleep, your conscious mind relaxes its hold, allowing your imaginal scene to sink deep into your subconscious. But don't limit yourself to nighttime. Throughout your day, whenever one moment, return to your scene. Feel the reality of it. Let the feeling of your wish fulfilled permeate your entire being. Now I want to address another important point. Some of you might be wondering about negative thoughts and doubts. You might be asking, Neville, what if I can't stop my negative thoughts? What if I doubt whether this will work? To that I say, don't fight your negative thoughts. Don't try to force them away. Instead, simply return to your imaginal scene. Return to the feeling of your wish fulfilled. You see, what you resist persists, but what you accept and then replace fades away. Your negative thoughts or doubts are simply habits of mind. They are old states that you've occupied for so long that they feel natural to you. But remember, you have the power to choose your state. You have the power to decide what you will accept as real. When doubts arise, when negative thoughts intrude, simply acknowledge them and then gently return to your chosen state. Say to yourself, there's that old thought again. But I know the truth. I know what's real. And then immerse yourself once more in the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Over time, as you persist in your new state, these old thoughts and doubts will fade away. They'll lose their power over you. You'll find it easier and easier to maintain your chosen state, to live from the end. Now let's talk about something that many people struggle with, letting go. You see, there's a seeming paradox in this work. On one hand, you must live from the state of your wish fulfilled, feeling it as real and present. On the other hand, you must let go of attachment to the outcome. This can be challenging. How can you feel something as real and yet not be attached to it? The key is to understand that your job is not to make your desire happen. Your job is simply to occupy the state. The manifestation, the outer fulfillment, is not your concern. That's the job of the universe. When you truly live from the end, when you fully occupy your desired state, you no longer feel a sense of lack or need. You're not actually waiting for your desire to manifest, because in your imagination it already has. You're simply enjoying the state, savoring the feeling of your wish fulfilled. This is true detachment. It's not about not caring whether your desire manifests. It's about knowing that it has already manifested on the level of imagination, which is the only reality. The outer world has no choice but to conform to this inner reality in divine timing and divine order. Now, I want to address a question that often arises when I speak about these principles. Some of you might be wondering, but Neville, what about morality? What if someone uses this power for selfish or harmful purposes? To that, I say the law is neutral. Like gravity doesn't distinguish between what we might consider good or bad. It simply responds to the state we occupy. But I assure you that when you truly understand and apply these principles, you will have no desire to harm others or to act selfishly. You see, as you begin to experience your own divine nature, as you realize your oneness with all of creation, your desires naturally align with the highest good. You begin to understand that what blesses one blesses all, that there is no separation between you and others. Moreover, you realize that you don't need to take from others to have what you want. You don't need to compete or struggle. You simply need to assume the state of having or being what you desire, and the universe will respond accordingly. This understanding leads to a profound shift in consciousness. You move from a mindset of lack and limitation to one of abundance and infinite possibility. You realize that there is more than enough for everyone, that one person's gain doesn't have to mean another's loss. Now, as we near the end of our time together, I want to leave you with a final thought. The principles I've shared with you today are not new. They are as old as consciousness itself. They have been taught by mystics and sages throughout the ages, often veiled in symbolic language. What I've attempted to do is to present these timeless truths in a clear, practical way that you can apply in your daily life. But remember, the real proof of these principles lies not in my words, but in your experience. I encourage you, my dear friends, to test these ideas for yourself. Choose a distinct side, create your scene, and live from that state. Persist even when outer appearances seem to contradict your imaginal act. Have faith in the law. Have faith in your own divine nature. And as you do this, as you begin to experience the power of your imagination to shape your reality, you will undergo profound transformation. You will begin to understand, not just intellectually but experientially, that you are the operant power in your life. You will realize that the universe is not something separate from you, but a loving, responsive extension of your own consciousness. This realization, my friends, is true freedom. It's the key to creating the life you desire, to becoming the person you want to be. It's the secret to making the universe respond. Remember, the world is yourself pushed out. Everything you experience is a reflection of your own consciousness. Change your consciousness, and you change your world. This is the great secret, the great law. It has always been so, and it will always be so. As you leave here today, I urge you to carry this knowledge with you. Let it infuse every aspect of your life. Use your imagination lovingly and wisely. Create beautiful states for yourself and for others. Live from the state of your wishes fulfilled. For in doing so, you are not just changing your own life. You are participating in the grand dance of creation. You are fulfilling your divine purpose. You are making the universe respond, not just to your individual desires, but to the highest and best possibilities for all of creation. Go forth, my dear friends, and create wonderfully. For you are the makers of your world, the authors of your destiny. The power is within you. The time is now. The choice is yours. Thank you, and may your imagination be blessed. I shall share with you 6 words that contain within them the absolute power to transform your world and attract unlimited abundance into your life. These are not mere words, they are the very seeds of creation, the living power of God in expression. The 6 words are, I am the source of all abundance. Now you might be thinking these are simple words, but I tell you with absolute conviction that within these 6 words lies the secret of all creation, all manifestation, all abundance. For you see, these words contain the 2 most powerful words in all of Scripture. I am, followed by the recognition of your true nature as the source of all abundance. Let me share with you why these 6 words hold such tremendous power. First, you must understand that your I am is God. This is not blasphemy. This is the deepest truth of Scripture. When Moses asked God his name, God replied, I am that I am. This I am is your true identity, your divine nature, your real self. When you speak these 6 words, I am the source of all abundance, you are not making an affirmation. You are making a recognition. You are acknowledging your true identity as the creator of your world. For you see, abundance doesn't come to you. It comes through you. You are its source. Many of you come to me saying, Neville, I've tried affirmations before, and they don't work. But I tell you now, these 6 words are not an affirmation. They are a statement of absolute truth. They are a recognition of who you really are. And when spoken with understanding and feeling, they must produce results. Let me explain why these particular 6 words are so powerful. The words I am contain within them all the creative power in the universe. Whatever follows your I am, you become. Therefore, when you say, I am the source of all abundance, you are literally becoming the source of all abundance in your experience. Consider this. Everything in your world is yourself pushed out. Every dollar in your bank account, every opportunity that comes your way, every abundant circumstance in your life, all of it is yourself pushed out. Therefore, when you declare, I am the source of all abundance, you are acknowledging this fundamental truth. Now, here's what's fascinating about these 6 words. They must be spoken with feeling, not with emotion, but with the feeling of naturalness. When you speak these words, you must feel that they are true. Not that they will be true someday, but that they are true right now. Let me give you a perfect example from Scripture. When Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life, he wasn't making an affirmation. He was stating a fact. He was acknowledging his true identity. And this is exactly how you must speak these 6 words. Many of you might be thinking, but Neville, how can I be the source of all abundance when my current circumstances show lack? Let me tell you something. Your circumstances are only showing you your past beliefs pushed out. They have no power over your I am unless you give them that power. When you speak these 6 words, I am the source of all abundance, you are literally recreating your world. For your world must conform to your I am statements. It has no choice. It is law. Let me share with you how to properly use these 6 words. First, you must speak them to yourself immediately upon waking. Before you engage with the world, before you check your phone, before you begin your day, declare with complete conviction, I am the source of all abundance. But and this is crucial, you must feel the truth of these words as you speak them. Feel what it feels like to be the source of all abundance. Feel the naturalness of it. Feel the reality of it. For feeling is the secret. And without the feeling, the words are empty. Throughout your day, Whenever you encounter any appearance of lack or limitation, immediately speak these 6 words to yourself, not as a denial of the appearance, but as a reminder of your true identity. For you see, lack and limitation have no power in the presence of these 6 words when properly understood and felt. Consider this: every wealthy person you admire, every successful person you respect, every abundant circumstance you desire, all of it is yourself pushed out. Therefore, when you declare, I am the source of all abundance, you are acknowledging your true relationship to all abundance. Let me share with you a principle that I have tested and proven countless times. What you acknowledge yourself to be, you become. Therefore, when you acknowledge yourself as the source of all abundance by speaking these 6 words, you must become that in your experience. Many of you make the mistake of looking for abundance outside yourself. You look to your job, but I tell you now, abundance can only come through you because you are its source. These 6 words acknowledge this truth. When you go to sleep at night, let these 6 words be the last thing in your consciousness. Feel what it feels like to be the source of all abundance. Let this feeling saturate your consciousness as you drift off to sleep. For the feeling you fall asleep with tends to clothe itself in form. Let me share with you another principle. Your consciousness is the only reality. Therefore, when you fill your consciousness with these 6 words and their true meaning, you are literally creating an abundant reality. Many of you may be wondering how long it will take to see results from speaking these 6 words. Let me tell you, the results are instant in consciousness. The outer manifestation will follow according to the naturalness of the way. But the change in consciousness is immediate when these words are properly understood and felt. Consider this: every time you speak these 6 words with understanding and feeling, you are literally restructuring your entire universe. For your universe is your consciousness pushed out, and these words, when properly understood, completely transform your consciousness. Let me share with you how to maintain the consciousness of these 6 words throughout your day. Whenever you handle money, whenever you engage in business, whenever you think about finances, immediately remind yourself, I am the source of all abundance. But remember, these words must never become mechanical. They must always be spoken with understanding and feeling, for it is the understanding and feeling that gives them power, not the mere repetition of the words. Many of you may be thinking, but never, what about my current bills, my current debts, my current financial obligations? Let me tell you something: when you truly know yourself as the source of abundance, these things are transformed, for they must conform to your new consciousness. Let me share with you another principle: what you consciously assume, you must become. Therefore, when you consciously assume the truth of these 6 words, I am the source of all abundance, you must become that in your experience. Consider this: every wealthy person you've ever known, every successful person you've ever met, every abundant circumstance you've ever witnessed, all of it came from consciousness. And these 6 words, when properly understood and felt, create the consciousness of unlimited abundance. Let me share with you how to handle doubt when it arises, and it will arise. When doubt appears in your mind, do not fight it. Instead, gently but firmly remind yourself, I am the source of all abundance. Feel the truth of these words. Feel the reality of them. Feel the naturalness of them. Many of you make the mistake of trying to convince yourself of these words. But I tell you now, you do not need to convince yourself of what is already true. You only need to recognize it, acknowledge it, and feel it. When you speak these 6 words, I am the source of all abundance, you are not trying to make something true. You are acknowledging what is already true. For you see, you are already the source of all abundance. You just haven't recognized it yet. Let me share with you another principle: your outer world must conform to your inner conversations. Therefore, when you make these 6 words your constant inner conversation, your outer world must become abundant. Consider this: every dollar that exists in the world, every opportunity that presents itself, Every abundant circumstance that appears, all of it is consciousness made visible. And these 6 words, when properly understood and felt, create the consciousness of unlimited abundance. Many of you may be wondering what to do if you don't see immediate results from speaking these 6 words. Let me tell you, continue speaking them with understanding and feeling. For the law is absolute. What you consciously assume, you must become. Let me share with you how to make these 6 words more powerful with each passing day. Every time you speak them, deepen your understanding of their meaning. Feel more deeply the truth they contain. Let them become more and more natural to you. Consider this: every time you speak these 6 words with understanding and feeling, you are literally recreating your entire financial world. For your financial world is nothing more than your consciousness of abundance pushed out. Let me share with you another principle. What you feel real is real in effect. Therefore, when you make these 6 words feel real to you, they must become real in your experience. Many of you may be thinking, but Neville, these are just words. Let me tell you something, there is no such thing as just words. Words are the instruments of creation. And these 6 words, when properly understood and felt, are the most powerful creative instrument you can use. Let me share with you how to use these 6 words in specific situations. When you receive a bill, speak these words. When you check your bank balance, speak these words. When you think about your financial future, speak these words. But remember, you must always speak them with understanding and feeling, for it is the understanding and feeling that gives them power, not the mere repetition of the words. Consider this: every abundant circumstance you desire already exists in consciousness. And these 6 words, when properly understood and felt, align you with that consciousness. Let me share with you another principle. What you declare yourself to be, you must become. Therefore, when you declare, I am the source of all abundance, you must become that in your experience. Many of you may be wondering how these 6 words can possibly transform your financial world. Let me tell you, they transform your consciousness, and your consciousness transforms your world. Let me share with you how to make these 6 words your constant companion. Write them where you can see them. Speak them whenever you think of them. Feel their truth whenever you remember them. Consider this: every time you speak these 6 words with understanding and feeling, you are literally rearranging the entire universe according to your new consciousness of abundance. Let me share with you another principle. Your consciousness is the only reality. Therefore, when you fill your consciousness with these 6 words and their meaning, you are literally creating an abundant reality. Many of you may be thinking, but Neville, what about the economy? What about the market conditions? What about the external circumstances? Let me tell you something, none of these things have power over your consciousness unless you give them that power. Let me share with you how to maintain the power of these 6 words even in the face of contradictory circumstances. Remember, circumstances are only showing you your past consciousness pushed out. Your new consciousness, created by these 6 words, will create new circumstances. Consider this: every time you speak these 6 words with understanding and feeling, you are literally recreating your entire relationship with abundance. Let me share with you another principle. What you claim yourself to be, you must become. Therefore, when you claim, I am the source of all abundance, you must become that in your experience. And that, my dear friends, is the power of these 6 words. Not because they are magical, but because they acknowledge the truth of who you really are. Not because they are affirmations, but because they are recognition. Remember this: you are the source of all abundance. These 6 words only acknowledge this truth. Therefore, speak them daily, speak them with understanding, speak them with feeling, and watch your world transform. So what will you do with these 6 words? Will you continue to seek abundance outside yourself? Or will you acknowledge yourself as its source by speaking these words with understanding and feeling? The choice is yours, but the law is absolute. What you consciously assume, you must become. Therefore, assume the truth of these 6 words, I am the source of all abundance, and watch your world transform. Let me share with you an even deeper truth about these 6 words, I am the source of all abundance. They contain within them the complete understanding of the 3 great secrets of manifestation: identification, externalization, and persistence. First, there is identification. When you speak these words, you are identifying yourself with the very source of abundance, not with the effects of abundance, but with its cause. This is crucial, my dear friends, for most people identify themselves with the effects: their current bank balance, their current circumstances, their current limitations. But these 6 words identify you with the cause of all abundance. Consider what this means. Every time you speak these words with understanding, you are literally shifting your identity from one who receives abundance to one who creates abundance. This is not a small shift. It is a complete transformation of consciousness. Let me share with you how this identification works at the deepest level. When you say I am, you are using the divine name. And when you follow it with the source of all abundance, you are completing that divine name with your highest understanding of your true nature. Many of you may be thinking, but Neville is just presumptuous. Let me tell you something that my teacher Abdullah taught me years ago. He said, Neville, you cannot presume what you already are. You can only acknowledge it or deny it. Let me share with you the second great secret contained in these 6 words, externalization. You see, when you declare, I am the source of all abundance, you are not just making an internal statement. You are setting in motion the law of externalization, whereby your consciousness must project itself into your world. Think about this carefully, my dear friends. Every single object in your world, every circumstance, every dollar in your bank account, all of it is your consciousness externalized. Therefore, when you fill your consciousness with these 6 words, properly understood and felt, you are literally recreating your entire external world. Many of you struggle with this concept because you think externalization takes time. But I tell you now, it is instantaneous in consciousness. The outer manifestation appears to take time only because of our attachment to what we call natural law. But I tell you, the only law is consciousness. Consider the story of the fig tree in Scripture. When Jesus spoke to it, it appeared unchanged in the moment. But by the next day, it had withered from the roots. This is how externalization works. It begins instantly in invisible realm of consciousness and then works its way into visible manifestation. Let me share with you how this principle of externalization works with these 6 words. When you say, I am the source of all abundance, you are not trying to change anything in the outer world. You are establishing a new truth in consciousness. And once established in consciousness, it must externalize itself. This is where most people make a crucial mistake. They speak words trying to change their outer world directly. But I tell you now, you cannot change the outer world directly. You can only change consciousness, and consciousness will change your world. Let me give you a deeper understanding of how this works. When you speak these 6 words, I am the source of all abundance, you are literally planting a seed in the garden of your mind. And just as a physical seed contains within it everything necessary to produce its fruit, these 6 words contain within them everything necessary to produce abundance. But, and this is crucial, you must allow this seed to take root in consciousness. You must water it with understanding and nourish it with feeling. For feeling, my dear friends, is the fertilizer of manifestation. Many of you come to me asking, Neville, how long must I speak these words before I see results? And I tell you now, the results are instant in consciousness. The moment you speak these words with true understanding and genuine feeling, the transformation begins. Let me share with you the third great secret contained in these 6 words, persistence. Now, When I speak of persistence, I am not speaking of mechanical repetition. I am speaking of persistent identification with the truth these words contain. Consider this. Every great oak tree was once a tiny acorn. But that acorn didn't become an oak tree by wishing or hoping or even by positive thinking. It became an oak tree by persistently being what it was, the source of an oak tree. This is exactly how these 6 words work. When you say, I am the source of all abundance, you are not trying to become something you are not. You are persistently identifying with what you already are. Let me share with you something profound about persistence. Most people think persistence means repeating words over and over. But true persistence is about maintaining a state of consciousness. When you speak these 6 words with understanding and feeling, you are entering a state of consciousness. Your task is to persist in that state. Many of you may be wondering how to persist in this state when your outer world shows no immediate change. Let me tell you something, your outer world has no choice but to change when you persist in the proper state of consciousness. It is law. Consider the story of Joshua and the walls of Jericho. For 6 days, nothing appeared to change, but they persisted in their consciousness of victory. On the 7th day, the walls fell. This is how persistence works. You maintain the consciousness until the outer world conforms to it. Let me share with you a deeper principle about these 6 words. They are not just words. They are a complete statement of truth about your relationship with abundance. When you say, I am the source of all abundance, you are acknowledging your true position in the universe. Think about this carefully. Most people see themselves as recipients of abundance. They think abundance comes to them from some external source. But these 6 words completely reverse that perspective. They acknowledge you as the source. That's the message I want to leave with you tonight. Not because it's easy, but because it's true. Not because it's simple, but because it's powerful. Not because it's what you expected to hear, but because it's what you needed to hear. Remember, these 6 words will transform your world when properly understood and felt. Every single time. And isn't that worth thinking about? Let me share with you what actually happens in consciousness during a 72-hour period following a true change in your assumption. The first 24 hours are crucial, as this is when your new assumption begins to take root in your subconscious mind. The second 24 hours strengthen this new pattern, and by the 3rd day, a complete transformation of consciousness has occurred. Many of you wonder why your manifestations seem to take so long, why your reality doesn't immediately reflect your desires. But I tell you this, there is a specific period of gestation for every seed planted in consciousness, just as there is for every seed planted in the earth. 72 hours represents a complete cycle of transformation in consciousness. Consider this. In Scripture, we read of the 3 days Christ spent in the tomb before his resurrection. This is not merely a historical account, but a profound psychological truth. Every transformation in consciousness requires 3 days. It's 72 hours before externalization begins. When you truly grasp this principle, something remarkable happens to your entire approach to manifestation. You stop wondering when your desire will manifest and start understanding the precise law that governs all manifestation. You recognize that time is not an enemy, but a necessary component of psychological gestation. Let me tell you something vital about these 72 hours. They begin the moment you completely accept your desire as an accomplished fact. Not when you start wishing for it, not when you start affirming it, but when you actually accept it as done in your consciousness. Here's a profound truth about this 72-hour period. It operates whether you believe in it or not. Just as a seed will take a specific time to germinate, regardless of whether you understand the process, your assumption will take approximately 72 hours to begin its manifestation, regardless of your conscious beliefs about timing. Think about this. Every major change in your life was preceded by a change in your consciousness approximately 72 hours before its physical manifestation. You may not have been aware of it, but this law was operating nonetheless. This law operates in consciousness with absolute precision, transforming your entire world through a specific sequence that unfolds over these 72 hours. Let me break down for you exactly what happens during this crucial period of transformation. In the first 24 hours, something profound begins to occur in your consciousness. The moment you truly accept your desire as an accomplished fact, your entire inner world begins to reorganize itself around this new assumption. Old patterns of thought begin to dissolve, and a new pattern starts to form. Many of you have experienced fleeting moments of acceptance, only to fall back into doubt and disbelief. But I tell you this, if you can maintain your new assumption for just 72 hours, holding it as true regardless of external evidence, you will set in motion forces that manifest in its manifestation. Consider this. When a woman conceives, she doesn't immediately see external evidence of her pregnancy. Yet from the very first moment of conception, forces are at work within her body, preparing for the manifestation of new life. The same is true of your consciousness during these first 24 hours. During the second 24-hour period, something even more remarkable occurs. Your new assumption begins to affect your subjective world, your thoughts, your feelings, your natural reactions to events. You begin to think from your desire fulfilled rather than of it. Let me tell you something crucial about this second day. This is often when doubt tries to creep in. The external world may still show no evidence of change, and your rational mind may try to convince you that nothing is happening. But beneath the surface, massive reorganization is taking place. Here's a profound truth about the second day. It's the period of death to the old man. Just as Christ spent the second day in the tomb, this is when your old patterns of thought and belief must die to make way for the new. This can feel uncomfortable, even disconcerting, but it's absolutely necessary. Think about this. Every transformation in nature goes through a period where the old form must die before the new can emerge. The caterpillar must cease to be a caterpillar before it can become a butterfly. The same principle applies to your consciousness during these crucial 72 hours. The very discomfort you might feel during this period is evidence that transformation is occurring. Your old patterns of thought and belief are dissolving, making way for your new assumption to take root and grow. The final 24 hours of this 72-hour period are perhaps the most crucial, for this is when the complete transformation of consciousness occurs. This is the period of resurrection, when your new assumption becomes so natural that you can no longer remember how it felt to be in your former state. Let me share with you exactly what happens during these final 24 hours. Your new assumption, which has been gestating in the depths of your consciousness, begins to rise to the surface. It no longer feels like something you're trying to believe, it simply feels like what is. Many of you might experience what seems like a moment of crisis during this final period. But I tell you this, what appears to be a crisis is often the breaking point where the old must give way to the new. It's the darkness before the dawn, the final resistance of the old man before the new man rises. Consider this. In Scripture, it was during the final hours in the tomb that the resurrection occurred. Not gradually, not partially, but in one complete transformation. The same is true of your consciousness during these final 24 hours. The transformation, when it comes, is complete. When you truly understand this principle, something remarkable happens to your experience of these 72 hours. You stop seeing them as a period of waiting and start recognizing them as a sacred time of transformation. Each hour becomes precious, each moment significant. Let me tell you something vital about these final hours. They often bring what appears to be a complete contradiction to your desire. This is what I call the moment of greatest appearance of failure. But remember, appearances are merely the shadow of past assumptions, not the reality of your present consciousness. Here's a profound truth about this final period. It's when your outer world begins to respond to your new inner conviction. Things begin to shift, often in ways you couldn't have consciously planned or anticipated. People begin to treat you differently. Circumstances begin to rearrange themselves. Think about this. Every great transformation in history appeared darkest just before its completion. The crucifixion preceded the resurrection. The darkest hour comes just before dawn. This principle is reflected in your own consciousness during these final hours. The very circumstances that seem to deny your assumption are often the ones being rearranged to accommodate its fulfillment. What appears to be resistance is actually reorganization. This reorganization of your outer world follows an immutable pattern, much like the transformation of your inner consciousness. Just as a seed must break through the soil that appears to resist it, your new assumption must break through the appearances of your current reality. Let me share with you what actually happens in your outer world during this period. People who seemed indifferent to you suddenly become helpful. Circumstances that appeared fixed begin to shift. Opportunities that weren't visible before suddenly present themselves. All of this occurs not by chance, by law. Many of you observe your outer world anxiously during these 72 hours, looking for signs of change. But I tell you this, the changes are occurring whether you can see them or not. Just as a plant grows beneath the soil before breaking through to the surface, your manifestation is taking form before becoming visible. Consider this: when you plant a seed, the soil must be disturbed. Old patterns must be broken up to make way for new growth. The same is true of your outer world during these 72 hours. What appears as disruption is actually the rearrangement necessary for your new assumption to manifest. When you truly grasp this principle, something remarkable happens to your response to external circumstances during this period. You stop being disturbed by appearances that seem to contradict your assumption. You recognize them as necessary adjustments in the grand pattern of manifestation. Let me tell you something crucial about this reorganization. It often occurs in ways that your conscious mind could never have planned. The wisdom of your subconscious mind, which is one with infinite intelligence, knows exactly how to bring about the conditions necessary for your assumption to materialize. Here's a profound truth about this outer reorganization. It follows the path of least resistance. While your conscious mind might imagine complicated scenarios requiring massive changes, your subconscious mind finds the simplest, most natural way to bring about your desire's fulfillment. Think about this. Every desire you hold contains within itself the seeds of its own fulfillment. When you plant that desire in consciousness through your assumption, it begins to attract and arrange everything necessary for its manifestation. This arrangement often occurs in ways that appear miraculous to the conscious mind. The very circumstances that seem to stand in the way of your desire often become the means of its fulfillment. This is the wisdom of the law operating through the perfect pattern of the 72-hour principle. This pattern unfolds in your experience with a precision that would astonish you if you could see it from a higher perspective. Every thought, every encounter, every seemingly random event during these 72 hours is part of an intricate dance orchestrated by your new assumption. Let me share with you what's actually occurring moment by moment during this period. Your consciousness, having accepted the new assumption, begins to attract corresponding experiences. People begin to treat you according to your new concept of self. Circumstances begin to mirror your inner conviction. This isn't coincidence, it's law. Many of you wonder why certain people suddenly change their behavior toward you, why new opportunities suddenly appear, why solutions to old problems suddenly become clear. But I tell you this, nothing is sudden about it. Each change is the result of your shifted consciousness working through the perfect pattern of these 72 hours. Consider this: when you drop a pebble into a pond, the ripples move outward in perfect circles, affecting every part of the water's surface. Your assumption works in the same way during these 72 hours, sending ripples through the entire fabric of your reality, touching every aspect of your world. When you truly understand this principle, something remarkable happens to your awareness during this period. You begin to recognize every event, every conversation, every seemingly random occurrence as part of the pattern of fulfillment. Nothing is meaningless. Everything is significant. Let me tell you something vital about this unfolding pattern. It requires no effort on your part beyond maintaining your assumption. You don't need to make things happen. You don't need to manipulate circumstances. The pattern unfolds by law, not by effort. Here's a profound truth about these 72 hours. They represent a complete cycle of transformation, from death of the old to birth of the new. Just as the moon moves through its phases, just as the earth rotates through day and night, your consciousness moves through this perfect pattern of transformation. Think about this. Every great master who ever walked the earth taught the same truth in different words. 3 days in the tomb, the third day resurrection, the threefold pattern of transformation. They were all pointing to this same law that operates in consciousness through the 72-hour cycle. The very experiences you encounter during this period, whether they appear positive or negative, are all part of the perfect pattern of fulfillment. Nothing is out of place. Nothing is accidental. To recognize and work with this pattern requires a complete reversal of your usual way of thinking. Instead of looking to external events for evidence, you must maintain an unshakable awareness of your assumptions, reality these 72 hours. Let me share with you exactly how to maintain this awareness as the pattern unfolds. When you wake each morning during this period, your first thought must be from the consciousness of your wish fulfilled. Before your feet touch the floor, before your mind engages with the day's activities, you must renew your awareness of already being who you desire to be. Many of you start your days by immediately checking external reality for signs of change. But I tell you this, the external will not show evidence until the full 72-hour cycle is complete. Your task during this time is to live from your new assumption regardless of appearances. Consider this: when an actor takes on a role, they must maintain that character's consciousness throughout the entire performance. They can't drop in and out of character and expect to give a convincing performance. The same is true of your new assumption during these 72 hours. When you truly grasp this principle, something remarkable happens to your daily experience. You stop living in anticipation of change and start living from the consciousness of the change already accomplished. This is the secret of working with the pattern rather than against it. Let me tell you something crucial about maintaining this awareness. It's not about forcing yourself to believe something. It's about allowing yourself to feel the naturalness of your new state. The more natural it feels, the more powerfully the pattern works. Here's a profound truth about these 72 hours. Your every reaction, your every response, your every inner conversation must spring from your new assumption. This isn't about pretending or affirming. It's about actually occupying your desired state in consciousness. Think about this. Every time you react from your old state of consciousness, you interrupt the pattern. Every time you respond from your new assumption, you strengthen it. The pattern requires consistency in consciousness to work its perfect law. The very circumstances that tempt you to react from your old state are actually opportunities to strengthen your new assumption. Each challenge is a chance to prove the reality of your inner transformation. These challenging moments during the 72 hours are not obstacles to your manifestation. They are vital parts of the pattern itself. They are opportunities to prove the reality of your new state in consciousness. Let me share with you exactly what to do when these moments arise. When circumstances seem to contradict your assumption, when people act contrary to your desired experience, when everything appears to be moving in the opposite direction. These are the moments when your new consciousness must be maintained with even greater conviction. Many of you interpret challenging circumstances as evidence that your assumption isn't working. But I tell you this, these very circumstances are part of the bridge of incidents, necessary events that must occur to bring about the fulfillment of your desire. They are not obstacles, but stepping stones. Consider this. When you're driving at night, the headlights illuminate only a small portion of the road ahead. Yet you trust that as you continue moving forward, more of the path will be revealed. The same trust is required during these 72 hours. You don't need to see the entire path. You need only maintain your assumption. When you truly understand this principle, something remarkable happens to your response to challenging circumstances. Instead of being discouraged by apparent contradictions, you begin to welcome them as confirmation that the old patterns are dissolving to make way for the new. Let me tell you something vital about these challenging moments. They often intensify just before the manifestation of your desire. This intensification is not a sign of failure, but a sign that the old patterns are making their final stand before dissolving completely. Here's a profound truth about handling these moments. Your only task is to remain faithful to your assumption. You don't need to fight circumstances, argue with appearances, or try to force changes. Your task is simply to maintain your consciousness of the wish fulfilled. Think about this. Every great manifestation in history was preceded by a period of apparent contradiction. The darkest hour comes just before dawn. The seed must completely break down before the new plant can emerge. These are not merely poetic metaphors. They are descriptions of the law in operation. The very circumstances that seem most opposed to your desire are often the ones being rearranged to bring about its fulfillment. What appears as resistance is actually reorganization. This process of reorganization during the 72 hours follows a precise pattern that, understood, will transform your entire approach to manifestation. What appears as chaos in your outer world is actually perfect order taking shape according to your new assumption. Let me share with you what's actually happening during this reorganization. Your entire world, every person, every circumstance, every condition must adjust itself to match your new assumption. This adjustment often appears as disruption before the new pattern emerges. Many of you become discouraged when your world appears to be falling apart during these 72 hours. But I tell you this, what appears to be falling apart is actually falling into place. The old patterns must dissolve before the new patterns can emerge, just as old structures must be demolished before new ones can be built. Consider this: when you rearrange furniture in a room, there's always a moment when everything appears to be in chaos. The room looks worse before it looks better. The same principle applies to the reorganization of your world during these 72 hours. When you truly grasp this principle, something remarkable happens to your perception of change. You stop resisting the apparent chaos and start recognizing it as a necessary part of the reorganization. You understand that disorder is often the prelude to a new and higher order. Let me tell you something crucial about this reorganization. It affects not only your external circumstances, but also your inner world. Old thought patterns dissolve, old emotional responses fade away, old habits naturally fall aside as your new assumption takes root. Here's a profound truth about this process. It works with mathematical precision. Just as water must reach 212 degrees Fahrenheit to boil, just as a seed must remain in darkness before it sprouts, your consciousness must maintain your assumption for approximately 72 hours for complete reorganization to occur. Think about this. Every major shift in your life followed this same pattern, whether you were conscious of it or not. A change in consciousness always preceded a change in circumstance by approximately 72 hours. This is not coincidence, it is law. The very disruption you experience during this period is evidence that the law is working. Your world is reorganizing itself to match your new assumption with perfect precision. This precision of the law operating through the 72-hour principle is as exact as any law in physics or mathematics. It operates with the same certainty that brings dawn after night, spring after winter, harvest after planting. Let me share with you exactly how this precision manifests in your experience. During these 72 hours, everything, every word you speak, every action you take is either aligned with your new assumption or contradicts it. There is no neutral ground. The law registers everything with perfect precision. Many of you wonder why some manifestations seem to come easily while others appear to resist your efforts. But I tell you this, the law is never working more or less effectively. The only variable is your consciousness, your ability to maintain your assumption consistently throughout the 72-hour period. Consider this: when you drop an object, gravity doesn't sometimes work and sometimes fail. It operates with perfect precision every time. The same is true of this law of consciousness. Your assumption, held steadily for 72 hours, must manifest with the same certainty that a released object must fall. When you truly understand this principle, something remarkable happens to your approach to manifestation. You stop hoping and start knowing. You stop pleading and start accepting. You stop wondering if it will work and start living from the certainty that it must work. Let me tell you something vital about this precision. It operates independently of your past experiences, your current circumstances, or others' opinions. The law responds only to your consciousness, your assumption maintained over these 72 hours. Here's a profound truth about this precise operation of law. It works the same way for everyone every time. Just as mathematics doesn't play favorites, just as gravity doesn't discriminate, this law operates with perfect precision for anyone who applies it correctly. Think about this. Every successful manifestation you've ever experienced, whether consciously or unconsciously, followed this precise pattern. The law didn't bend or make exceptions. It simply outpictured with mathematical precision whatever you assumed to be true. The very precision that seems to work against you when you doubt is the same precision that works for you when you maintain your assumption. The law is always working with perfect accuracy. Working with this precision requires a complete understanding of how consciousness operates during these 72 hours. Your every thought, your every inner conversation, your every feeling must align with your assumption with the same precision that a mathematician applies to equations. Let me share with you exactly how to maintain this precise alignment. When you wake in the morning, your first thought must be from your new state. When you go about your day, your inner conversations must reflect your assumption. When you fall asleep at night, you must sleep as though your desire is already fulfilled. Many of you approach manifestation with a mixture of old and new states, shifting between doubt and belief, between old patterns and new assumptions. But I tell you this, the law requires precision. You cannot serve two masters. You must choose your assumption and maintain it with unwavering fidelity. Consider this when a watchmaker assembles a timepiece. Every gear, every spring, every component must be precisely aligned. A single misaligned piece affects the entire mechanism. The same is true of your consciousness during these 72 hours. Every aspect must be in perfect alignment. When you truly grasp this principle, something remarkable happens to your mental discipline. You become acutely aware of your thoughts, your inner conversations, your reactions. You recognize that each mental movement either supports or undermines your assumption. Let me tell you something crucial about this precision. It extends to your emotional state as well. You must feel with the same precision that you think. The feeling of your wish fulfilled must be so precise that it becomes your dominant emotional state. Here's a profound truth about working with this precision. It requires constant vigilance during these 72 hours. You cannot afford mental laziness or emotional indulgence in the old state. Every moment must be lived from your new assumption with mathematical precision. Think about this. Just as a scientist in a laboratory must maintain precise conditions for an experiment to succeed, you must maintain precise conditions in consciousness for your instruction to manifest. There can be no contamination from doubts, no dilution with fears. The very precision that makes this law seem demanding is what makes it infallible. When you maintain your assumption with mathematical accuracy, the law must respond with equal precision.